One of the most beautiful aspects of Talmud Torah is that when we learn, even though we might be learning something that we saw already, that we learned already, there's something fresh, there's something new that we take away. So, for example, every week we learn the Parsha, getting up to the Shabbos when we read the Parsha. This week's Parsha is Lech. And even though we read Parshas Lech last year and we learned in preparation for reading it that Shabbos, nevertheless, when we learned it this year, there's something different, some detail we didn't realize. I always had a question on that. And look, Rashi answers it. Or, oh, you know what? I never really understood what that word meant. But now, I can't believe I didn't realize this all these years. Something fresh, something new, something beautiful. Even that which we learned previously. And yet at the same time, there are certain things that just stick in our mind whenever we hear or think of a specific parsha. And for me, when it comes to Parshas Lech Lecha, there's one thing I always think of when it comes to a specific Rashi. I think of a memory from my childhood. It was going on vacation. We always stayed in the very same hotel chain. Wherever we went, it was always Howard Johnson's. We'd call Hojo. And we stayed in the same hotel, never nicer, never less than, or shall I say dingier, always the same hotel. And when I think about the story of Avram Avinu Lahavdil, as Rashi explains that when he went down to Mitzrayim, and when he came up from Mitzrayim, he stayed in the very same place, the very same lodging. So we wonder, okay, that's nice. Teaches us something about Avram Avinu. It teaches us something about his character. That he was loyal to people who had treated him with respect and dignity, and he and Sarah treated them likewise the same way. That's a very nice lesson. But is it that big of a deal? So the Ksav Sofer points out, yes, it is, and here's why. When Avram Avinu went down to Mitzrayim, he was a poor man. He stayed in a place, wherever it was that he could stay. But because of what happened down in Mitzrayim, down in Egypt, Avram became exceedingly wealthy. So much so that he was full of possessions to the point where the Torah describes, V'Avram kaved me'od. Avram was so heavy of possessions when he came back. And yet, he didn't go to stay in a 5-star hotel that he couldn't afford when he was going down. He stayed in the same hotel that he stayed at when he was a poor man, even though now he was a wealthy man. And so the Ksav Sofer points out that people tend to act differently as they go through different stages in life, particularly when it comes to financial success or perhaps a decrease in financial status. Abraham became wealthy, and yet he remained true to who he was as a person. And he didn't allow his new stature to cloud the relationships that he had previously established. The fact that he returned to the same place where he stayed when he didn't have that much on the way down really speaks volumes about Avram's character. Many of us go through various challenges and stages and journeys throughout our own lives. And whether those are financial or those are prominence or those are respected positions that we may attain in our communities, it's truly praiseworthy for us to, at our core, remain the same person, despite the successes or the setbacks that we may encounter throughout life, to model ourselves after Abraham and Sarah and remain true to who we are so that people can count on us on any day. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.